Guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk about fueling for your runs, because this is one of the things that is so crucial as a beginner runner for you to know. What do I eat and when do I eat it before my run? Now, what I will start by saying is that fueling for your runs is extremely important because you need energy. Your body is about to expend a lot of energy in a short amount of time. You need to have that energy in your body so that your body has the energy to expend. You also want to be sure that you're eating because you want to get out there and you want to have optimal performance. You don't want to get out there and be sluggish and not be able to perform your best, because that's what running is all about. That's what, especially if like you're training for something, training for a race, it's all about peak performance. And so you want to be sure that you have the energy in your body so that your body can perform optimally. Also, you want to prevent fatigue. Now, I have been there before where I was mid-run and I could tell the moment that all the energy was gone. Everything that I ate before that run was gone, and I was stuck out there, and I still had some more run in me. I still had more run before I got back to where I was going, and I had no energy whatsoever. And you don't want to be in that position. And so it's just really important that you get this right when it comes to fueling for your runs. Now, the other thing that I'll mention is that the timing is also important. Now, the window is somewhere typically between 30 minutes to 2 hours, they tell you. I will tell you, for me, I can't eat within 30 minutes of a run. I usually have to wait 45 minutes to an hour. When I am doing road races, if I'm doing like a 5K or a 10K or a half marathon, I will eat an hour and a half before the race, like clockwork. I set my clock an hour and a half before the race starts is when I'm actually fueling for those runs. And it's because I know my body, I know my digestive system. If I try to eat 30 minutes before a race and then try to get out there and run, it is not going to end very well. My body starts to cramp, my digestive system doesn't, because running actually impacts your digestive system. It slows it down. And if I try to eat and then my body's trying to process that, it's trying to digest that, and then I'm out there running as well and it's trying to slow all that down, like my body gets so confused. So I cannot eat within 30 minutes of a run. Like I said, usually for me, it's somewhere between 45 minutes to an hour and a half is my optimal time. So this is one of the things where you really just have to know your body. You have to know how your body is going to react to you running, and you have to know how your body is going to react to eating before you run. Now, I will admit that I'm a morning person when it comes to working out. I tend to get up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and exercise. A lot of times I don't eat before my short run. So if I'm getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I only got to do 2-3 miles on the treadmill, I usually run those in a fasted state, but I typically have energy stored up from the night before so that I can power through, that 20 or 30 minute run. Anything more than that, I usually have to have at least a small bite of something before I start that run. Now, I don't like to run heavy, and that's really one of the reasons why I do run in the morning and why I do run in a fasted state, because once I eat a full-blown meal, like I said, I usually have to have about an hour and a half before that digests through my body, and then I'm comfortable enough to be able to run after that. And so when you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you don't have an hour and a half. You don't have the time to eat breakfast and wait an hour and a half. And so I typically will run in a fasted state if it's shorter runs, and then if it's longer runs, I'll eat a bite of something, and depending on how long the run is, then I might end up having to actually have breakfast, wait the hour and a half, and then run after that. This is definitely one of those areas where you're going to have to learn your body. If you don't know your body and know how your body is going to react, you definitely have to play around with it and see what works for you. Now, I probably don't need to tell you this, but carbohydrates are going to be your main source of energy. Carbs are your best friend when you're a runner. It is our main fuel source. Now you can run if you are one of those folks who like high protein, low carb diets. You can eventually adapt so that you're burning, fat, and you don't have to eat a lot of carbs and have those carbs stored up as energy. But it is highly encouraged that you start to incorporate good carbs into your diet, because that is the optimal source of fuel for your body when you're running. And then of course you're also going to need a little bit of protein. Protein helps with muscle repair and it helps with soreness after your run is over. So you really have to have a great balance. Now, one of the things that I like to do is something that's called carb cycling. And so when I am running, those days when I have to run, I tend to eat a few more carbs on those days than I do on my non-running days. So over the course of the week, I'm typically running 4, sometimes 5 days a week. On those days that I run, my carb limit is a little higher. So on my non-running days, I try to stay under 100 grams of carbs. And, I tend to focus more on protein, really high protein, and keeping my carbs to a minimum. On those days when I'm actually running, I allow myself a little bit more carbs, and I'm typically over the 100 gram mark on those days because my body needs those carbs as a source of energy to fuel those runs. And so I found that that has actually worked for me. It doesn't hurt that I'm eating higher carbs on my running days because, again, I'm expending that energy. I'm depleting that energy source through my runs. And I was still able to lose weight and then now to maintain my weight just doing that carb cycling pretty much every other day. Now, one of the things you absolutely positively want to avoid is running dehydrated. You always want to be well hydrated when you run because your body needs that water. Your body needs that hydration. If you're anything like me, I sweat when I'm doing cardio, and running is no different. And I typically don't sweat until I stop running. And so once I stop running, everything is wet. Like my clothes are damp, my head is damp because I sweat in my head. All this water is coming out of my body through sweat because I'm running, and I have to be sure that I have enough water in my body. You do not want to be out there and you're cramping up and you're passing out. People have passed out from being dehydrated. Just moral of the story, just be sure that you are hydrated. Drink water. And it's not enough, what we typically hear is 8-ounce glasses of water per day, 64 ounces of water per day. Basically, you need more than that when you're running. I would venture to say for every 20 minutes of running that you're doing, you probably need another 8 to 16 ounces of water. And so you need to be drinking water not only throughout the course of the day, but also as you run as well. Drink your water as you run as well. Before you run, during your run, after you run. Just be sure you're staying well hydrated. That is going to help you with performance, and that is going to help to prevent cramps, injuries, and other things that could occur during your run or after your run. So some of the things that I would suggest pre-run, and again, you're just really going to have to figure out what works for you, but some of the things that I would typically eat before I run would be a banana, peanut butter, bagel with like jelly or a fruit spread. The fruit bars, like the strawberry Nutri-Grain type bars, are good. If I don't have bagels, like, slice of toast, like I said, with jelly or jam or something like that. I also make what are called no-bake energy bites, and they are really good. They're made with rolled oats, but they also have honey and flaxseed and chocolate chips and coconut in them. And so I'll take one of those energy bites and I will eat a couple of them, depending on how far I'm running, but I'll eat 1 or 2 before I'm about to run. And it's like a quick, sugar hit, like a quick burst of energy. And it kind of gets me going. Some of the things that I avoid when I am running are things that are heavy, things that are full of fat. I now know that I have to avoid things that have a lot of fiber in them. I used to could eat oatmeal before a race. Like I would eat oatmeal hour and a half before a run, then I get out there and run. And I learned over marathon training that something has changed with my digestive system, and the fiber in oatmeal is just now a no-go. And so again, you kind of have to play around with certain things and see how they work for you. Now, oatmeal might be something that is good for you, and you might be able to actually run with that. I was able to do that in past lives, but again, once I started marathon training last year, for whatever reason, the oatmeal no longer worked. It gave me runner's trot. That is an actual thing. And so I had to give up the oatmeal. And so you really just want to avoid things that will disrupt your digestive tract, that will, make you feel sluggish, and just kind of avoid those things. You don't want to feel very heavy when you're running. You want to be very light, feel very light on your feet. And there are certain foods you can eat that will absolutely make you feel heavy. And then, like I said, they will disrupt your digestive system. And you just really have to know next time I cannot eat that. Now, during your run, and sometimes you do have to fuel while you are running. During your run, you can eat things like energy gels. I have some energy blocks that I use. I have some energy gels that I'll use. I use the energy gels for the first time during marathon training, and then I actually used them during the marathon, and they were really good. That worked out really well. A lot of times, especially if you're racing, and they will have stations set up where they might have fuel for you like mid-run. So they may have things like oranges or watermelon or apples or bananas or pretzels or things like that. Something very small. Again, you don't want to be heavy. You don't want to be out there, mid-run gobbling pizza. Now, I've seen people do that, but I highly discourage that unless you know that your digestive system is going to be okay. But, small things like that give you that quick burst of energy. Usually I have to eat something small like that about every 45 minutes when I'm running. And especially when I'm racing, for whatever reason, racing, I tend to burn more energy when I'm out there racing as opposed to just a regular run or a training run. And so I am really diligent about every 45 minutes putting something small into my mouth to make sure I get that next burst of energy and I keep it going. Because again, the thing that you don't want when you're running is to run out of energy and still have run left. That is the worst feeling in the world, because you're like, how can I ever go on? Because I have no energy left. So I guess what it comes down to, and I've kind of alluded to this, is listen to your body. You don't want to overeat, but the thing that you really don't want to do is undereat. You really have to get out there and just kind of see what works for you. There's going to be a couple of times when you get caught and your digestive system is doing what it does, and you're like, okay, so now I know I can't eat that. And I know that I have to eat, a little bit closer to my run time, or, I need a few more minutes between when I eat and when I start running. And, just really take stock of, what you eat and the timing and how that impacts your energy and your performance and whether or not you're feeling fatigued during your run. Those are the things that you need to watch out for, and those are the things that you need to kind of gauge so that you can adjust what you're eating and the timing of your eating for just an optimal run. So I hope this information has been helpful to you. Take a moment and leave me a note in the comments. Let me know what questions you have. If you want to know more specifics, if you want to know some of the things that I specifically eat, or some of the the products that I use when it comes to fueling for runs and races, leave those in the comments and I will certainly respond to them. Let me also know what other topics you want me to cover in these videos, and I will certainly do that. If this video has been helpful to you, take a moment and give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't joined the community yet, take a moment, hit the subscribe button. I love to have you here as part of our beginner runner community. Take care and happy running.